Hello, my name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book review. Today, I am going to be covering this book, Heart in the Wild. It is a book from 2002, very new age healing and self-actualization / self-discovery in tone, in content. The back matter has a recommendation from Jeffrey Moseif Masson. It says, "It is impossible to resist the warmth and wisdom of Susan McElroy's unique voice." The reason why Jeffrey Moseif Masson's name seemed familiar to me is that I also have a book by him, When Elephants Weep, The Emotional Lives of Animals. I'm not sure I'll get around to that anytime soon, but it's a book I read and is on the back burner, so you can look forward to that when it happens. The inside cover also has this in sections: praise for Susan Chernak McElroy. One of her books, Animals as Teachers and Healers, has the praise, "A treat for anyone who cares about animals or secretly thinks they might be angels in disguise," from the magazine New Age Journal. So that is the kind of content this author produces. The book itself is subtitled, "A Journey of Self-Discovery with Animals of the Wilderness." And the introduction states this: "This book is about wild animals, wild forces, and what the wild has to teach us of the humbling yet renewing seasons of change and transition in our lives. It is about wild fears and wild fires, physical and metaphoric ones. My catastrophic house fire was not the first fire to have touched my life. If you imagine fire not in its flaming form, but as a transitional force that sweeps in, consuming and transmuting all it touches, then the soul of fire had certainly entered me before. None of us is immune to the spirit of fire that rushes upon us, signaling profound and deep life changes with a terrifying rush of obliterating smoke that blackens out the meaning and oftentimes the very sense of reality of our former lives." So that's a good example of the writing style that she uses throughout this book, and a good example of the thesis that she's putting together, that fire is a destructive but healing force, and it brings about change. And that is what the stories in this are about. Her the various forms of healing and meditation and mindfulness that she practices throughout her adult life. I'm not a fan of these new age healing and styles of recovery or mindfulness. I think I appreciate this story, though. Each chapter really focuses on encounters with a specific animal and the things that she feels while in this specific period of change in her life. Here in New Mexico, every national monument, national park you go to will have some book about Zuni fetishes and how these fetishes are believed to house the spirit of some, or the essence of an animal, provided it is facing the right direction, has the right sacrifices to it, so on and so forth. There's kind of a fetishistic, and when I use that word, I mean in the sense of like the Zuni fetish or the animistic worship. There's kind of a fetishistic bent to this. Animals are referred to in a capital letter elk or wolf. They're not a specific wolf or a specific elk she encounters, but the meaning that that animal provides for that moment of her life. It's kind of cringy at times. I'm not a follower in that sense of belief system, but I appreciate that they can enrich their own lives from it. So this book isn't entirely for me, but I'm going to try and find another passage from this book that I like, that I think may inspire someone else to pick this book up as well. I recalled the words of my friend Teresa Martino. The universe twinkles around us, swirling with the power that eats suns whole and drools out the gases that in turn become stars again. The world teaches us, but the truth is hard. If we fear to look, we will never know. Coal was once forests. Diamonds were trees under the pressure and heat. The volcano of Earth's heart. All life helps all life. Everyone sees the work as they are. If you see life as all things fighting, then you will fight. If you see life as everything helping each other, then that is how you will live. I don't know how I learned of the giveaway. I must have heard it somewhere and it lodged in my soul. Karl Hammerschlag writes, "The old Indians say that if you give away something that's important to you, your life is renewed. It means that you have the things don't have you. If you can't give away your possessions, they will destroy you." I was not qualified to conduct the Sweat Lodge ceremony myself and needed to ask David if he would honor me by serving as the lodge chief. Such a request requires gifts. Tobacco is traditional, but I also wanted to give something that had meaning for me, to express how much I valued the opportunity to host the ceremony and valued David as a friend and teacher. In looking through my things, I kept stumbling across my one and only eagle feather. A wing feather from a young bald eagle. It had come to me on a river walk with Arrow and Strongheart, and had become one of my most precious secret treasures. For an entire day, I spent moments alternately wrapping the feather for David, then unwrapping it, putting it back in the drawer, and looking for something else to give that would be easier to part with. In the end, with a mixed sigh of resignation and excitement, I wrapped the feather up in a red bandana and tied a bundle of tobacco on top of it. When I presented it to David with my request that he serve as my lodge chief, I felt a great surge of peace and joy course through me as the feather left my fingers. So this is what comes from giving away what is precious and dear. I was only half right. The giveaway is a circle, and it widens as it comes back around to us, magnifying the blessings of the giver. As I turned to leave David's house that evening, he called out, "Wait just a minute, Susan." Returning from his bedroom, he carried the full wing of an owl spread out in a magnificent fan. "I found this brother along the road. Isn't owl part of your medicine?" For many years, I had felt a very strong healing connection between myself and the spirit of owl. David placed the fan of soft gray and tan feathers in my hands. "I think this is yours," he said. The significance of the gift did not escape me for an instant. For the gift of my one cherished eagle feather, a dozen feathers had returned to me, feathers from my spirit bird. My gift had returned to me tenfold, like a tithe. I'm not too keen on that spiritual healing, the spirit animal kind of system, but you can really hear in that setup that was separated paragraphs from 2 pages of content. You can really hear how much she struggles with that gift, and then finally how much she feels in return for giving up that gift. That sense of ecstatic fulfillment that she did the right thing, and then when it concludes, that gift comes back to her in kind. I think that really embodies the spirit of this book, that she is giving of herself to others and is feeling some actualization, some reward for sharing it with others, that they might find their own path through this book and then in return share that path with her. I don't know that that is the true message of this book, but I get the feeling that's partly what she had in mind when she was writing it and publishing it. It's a fun book on some levels. It's a bit arcane and boring at other times, and it's a bit spiritual in ways I'm not keen on in others, but I think it has value. This may be one of those books you'll want to pick up. It won't give you any tips on how to conduct things, but it may give you advice as gleaned through another person's life. I don't know how much I bought this book for. I don't know where I bought it. I only know that I bought it before 2018. I read it during the summer of 2018 while I was working for that one summer camp, and I brought it back with me in 2019 and reread it then. That was probably worth it in the end. It feels like one of those books that if I am eventually going to part with some books from my library, this is going to be one of those, and perhaps get me started on earning some credit through Koaz books, since you can't actually get credit with them until you put a book back into their system. So yeah, it feels like one of those books. My name is Wildstag, and thank you for tuning in to another used book review.